Hey, Mark.
Hey Reb, how are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to the Rock Pit today. It's a pleasure to be in the presence of one of my favorite guitarists,
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much.
or as we call you over here, the Riff Master.
Oh, I like it. I like that very much.
Kip agreed when I spoke to him as well, by the way.
Uh,
So
is this audio or are you recording video?
I was doing video, if that's okay.
I guess so. What?
I spoke to Kip last night, so I'm going to put the two together. So I'll just do some clips from this one, if that's okay.
However you'd like to do it.
Fantastic. And we'd love a shout out to the people of West Australia if you could, because here tickets aren't going too well in Perth.
You're in Perth.
Yes.
So buy some fucking tickets and come to the show. I'm telling you, you don't know what you're missing. Um, maybe there's people that think Winger. Isn't that the 80s band with the good looking, posery guy who does pirouettes on the stage with his bass? That's not what it is at all. The band's been around for 35 years. It's like seeing a heavier version of Toto. We're all, musicians who have done so many different things. I played with Shaka Khan, the Bee Gees, Howard Jones, Roger Daltrey, Kenny Loggins before I was even in Winger. And Rod Morgenstein is one of the most famous drummers there is, uh, and then we've got Paul Taylor, who played with Steve Perry and Cinderella, and we all have this incredible resume. And so when you see it, it's not like going to see your typical 80s band. And the songs are very, very good. And they're not only just pop songs that you see when you see these typical 80s bands. There's a lot of serious jams, and it's way more progressive and heavy than you probably are imagining.
That
So
should
come on.
do it.
Yeah,
I'm expecting a sellout now, Reb. I think
just from that.
just from that, we need it. We need it. Um, Obviously, you've been to Australia before in
I played in Perth
other
with
incarnations. Yeah.
Alice Cooper.
Yes. That was
Yeah, I
amazing.
remember. I remember it was far. I remember it was it was way out of the way, but they knew how to party there. I remember that. When I was in Perth, um, I was under the name REB Beach at my hotel, and I had people calling my room like Rib. I'm a big fat. I am Rib, and they call me Rib like I'm
Brilliant.
McDonald's McRib sandwich, and and um and they wanted me to come down and party at the hotel bar at 2 a.m. And I thought that was great. And the big joke when we were driving there from wherever I don't know, I guess the airport or something, it was a long drive through like kind of like a desert area. And um, the big joke was that someone would always yell out, kangaroo! And we'd all look out the bus window like, where? There's no kangaroos. But that's what I remember about Perth.
We have a few. We've come a long way now. We've actually got a train from the airport and all kinds of stuff. But
Yeah, that was 30 years ago.
that was the Paul
20,
Rogers.
25
Was
probably.
that the Paul Rogers one where Paul was supporting?
Wasn't. It
No.
wasn't that. It was, let's see, it was actually in the 90s.
It
It
was at
was
the
probably
old entertainment center. I remember that.
94, 95. It was I know it. It's the name of the live album that we did. It was our first record, but it's been so long I can't remember. But you can look it up, whatever that live album is with Slash and Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. We'll look it up. I mean, the thing for me about Winger has always been the quality of the music. I don't know what it was, but you were just a band that I love the first three albums, but when you came back and you've done the later albums, to me, they're just as good. I was saying to Kip that Seven's probably my favorite Winger album,
Hmm. And
which
that's
is
I was surprised that it was received as well as it was. I thought it was too dark
Mm,
for the public, really. When kind of times just seem like they're dark right now in America anyway, just to release such a dark record, I was worried. But people love that record,
yeah,
which is, I mean, it's a great record. Kip did an amazing job. The guy's a genius.
yeah. But you are as well. I mean, and the way that you two write together is like none other. There's not a partnership in hard rock, I don't think, that for me matches what you guys do.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Thank you. It's just always been a formula that comes naturally and works really well for us. Just because he's an arranger and I'm a riff writer, so it's kind of like Lennon and McCartney. We were just, perfect. And he's the exact opposite of a person that I am.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of a bubbly beer drinking, happy-go-lucky, not the brightest bulb in the pack, but I exude music and talent. And Kip is, structured, and he wakes up at 7 a.m. and does everything exactly the same way, and he's all business, and he charts things out and writes for a 76 piece orchestra all before lunch. Um, I'm the exact opposite, and that's why we go so well together.
yeah,
He focuses me and tells me what key to play in, and gives me direction, and he can just take my talent and make it into the music that you hear.
yeah. Kip actually said something I thought was fantastic, which is pretty much what you've said there. He said that you have got all of the things that he hasn't got, and
Well,
from
that was very sweet of him. I mean,
uh,
definitely, he's got all the things that I don't have
mm,
and never will.
yeah,
So that's why we're good together.
yeah.
And he's got some of it too. He sells himself short. He can come up with his own riffs that are pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy to talk to. Pretty humble. It's billed as Winger's farewell tour, which let's hope it's not. But Kip said, yeah, it might be the last time you come to Australia, so we can
It
sort of
is.
do that.
It's the last time we come to Australia. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we're not getting a lot of money to do it, and because it's so expensive to
yeah,
come there and to rent all the gear and to do all of this stuff. We're doing it because Kip loves Australia. I love Australia, and he thought it was necessary, definitely, to say goodbye to the Australian fans.
yeah.
Um, unless we get offered a shitload of money for a festival in Australia, the Ozfest, in
Well,
Australia or something.
if if
I think
if if I win Lotto, we're going to have the REB Feds. We're gonna bring you guys over again for that. It's yeah, it's been a wonderful career. Hopefully, with it being the final tour, there might still be new music in the future. Do you think?
no,
No.
no.
Wow.
Kip is classical. That's
Mm,
where he's at. That he's over the rock thing. He gets so much more enjoyment
mm.
from writing classical music, and he overbooks himself with the classical music he has to write. He's got. I have not. Kip talks like this. He has a monotone and deep. It's kind of like this, um, and you can just hear him saying, I have 12 symphonies I have to write in the next 3 years, and I'm not even halfway done with the first one. So, yeah, there's no way there's gonna be there won't be another Winger record. I don't think, unless I come to Kip and go, Kip, I've written 70% of the new Winger record. If I'm desperate for another Winger record, and I just write great riffs, and I already have a verse and a chorus and a solo section for 10 songs, he may do it.
You're on it. You're on
It's
it.
it's never it's never worked that way though.
Yeah, no.
Most of the time, if I'll come in with a completed idea like that, he just feels like it has to have its inception when he and I are sitting in a room for it to have the magic.
Yeah, yeah,
Because he hears it as soon as I play a riff that I come up with on the spot. That's exciting to him. If he's listening to something that I put a drum machine to and have any kind of production to, he's not inspired by that. I don't think he's ever used a riff that I brought in. Whereas Black Swan uses every riff that I bring in, which are usually the riffs that I brought to Kip that he turned down.
Oh wow, okay. That's interesting. We'll get to Black Swan and some of the other bands you've been in a bit because you've been I think you've been in some of my favorite bands ever.
Oh, thanks. Oh, good.
And you've always brought a lot to them as well. I mean, especially with Whitesnake, I thought when you got some of those writing credits on there, there was a life to some of those songs. Flesh and Blood, I think, was probably my favorite Whitesnake album after I'm an old school Whitesnake fan, so I go back to the blues days, but I think
Yeah.
Flesh and Blood was probably my certainly my favorite since 1987, and the stuff that you contribute to that, like Good to See You Again, Shut Up and Kiss Me, all that kind of stuff, fantastic. It's sort of
Thank,
like
thank you. I wrote "Shut Up and Kiss Me" and I played it for David, and um, and he went into a room and came back out and he said, "I've got the title. I've got it. Are you ready? It's Shut Up and Kiss Me." And I said, why don't we just make that the working title for right now, and then we can maybe change that later. He said, no, 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 that's it, darling. That's the title. And I just really thought that was the end of my career when, especially when he said that was going to be the first single. Um, but it ended up being a hit, so that's great.
it did. I once got into a bit of a fight with Mr. Coverdale. I accidentally called him Dave.
He has a shtick that he does with people who call him Dave. Don't take it personally. He that's the same thing he says to everyone that calls him Dave.
I know it was great. Hundreds of thousands of people read the interview, so it worked beautifully well after we had a spat on Twitter. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, seven wonderful
You
albums.
just don't tell him that he sound. One guy came up to him and said, "You know what? I've always loved you because you sound just like Robert Plant." He was not happy with that one at all.
Oh, that's a good one.
I
That's
think he said like, "Go fuck yourself," something like that.
yeah. In inimitable style. His lyrics always used to sort of crack me up as well. Like some of the double entendres and stuff like that. It's not a Kip Winger style.
No, 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 no.
Let's say, let's put it that way. And of course, the
Yeah,
band, like on, I guess it's not officially over, but on infinite hiatus.
is Whitesnake?
Yeah,
Look, it's all up to David. I'll tell you what I know. David, was it 3 years ago now? He called me 2 weeks before the Scorpions tour and he said, I'm just exhausted, darlings. That's it. I'm exhausted and I just can't do it. I'm so sorry. And he canceled the tour 2 weeks before. Um, and then he sold his publishing for $50 million, like around the same time. And then, he told me to keep my equipment at his house. And in case we do something else, if something could come up, but just leave enough so that you can tour if something comes up. And I'm like, great. Well, it's been 3 years, and I've always been under the impression that if he does do something, it's going to be, um, in Vegas, 5 nights in Vegas.
yeah,
That he can do, but he does hate the traveling. It does exhaust him. Um, so I don't see him going on another, European farewell tour and ending that the way we should have, because it really was a shame how that whole thing ended. We all got COVID and it was, and that was it,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think, isn't it? Those were the days. I was talking to when I talked to Kip, he almost got stranded in Western Australia because they were closing the borders. That was the last time he was over when he finished with a solo show in Perth, which was
Mm.
fantastic. Another reason why people should get out there and see. But aside from Whitesnake, you've been in so many bands. I know that you met Kip while you were playing with Fiona on that particular course.
Well, yeah, that all started. I was a singing waiter in New York City, and I hung around at music stores, and I heard about an audition for Fiona. I went and I got it, and Bo Hill was the producer. And I replaced all these guitar players that they paid a ton of money. And so I did all the guitars. It took me a couple weeks. And at the end of it, Bo Hill said to me, okay, Reb, it's time to pay you. And I don't want to insult you, but how does $500 sound? And I was like, great. $500 is awesome. I'd never seen $500. And it should have been 5,000, but I didn't know that because I was just a kid and never done sessions before. So I even didn't know how to work a Marshall. Kane Roberts was playing with Alice
Wow.
Cooper next door and had to come over and show me how to work the Marshall. Um, but then Bo Hill told every producer at Atlantic Records, I got this kid and he does Van Halen solos, no problem. And he'll play on your record for 500 bucks. So I did Shaka Khan, Howard Jones, Roger Daltrey, all that stuff because that year Beat It came out with Van Halen solo on Michael Jackson's song, and all those big Atlantic artists wanted an Eddie Van Halen solo. So I was just at the right place at the right time. Kip was the bass player on all of Bo Hill's stuff. That's how we met. We hated each other. I couldn't stand him, and he hated me. And because I didn't get his demeanor, his when because he talks like this, and he just thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's not really true. It's just you're just not used to hearing someone talk like that. And so uh, Bo Hill came in when I was playing a riff. I was playing like Time to Surrender or something,
Mm.
just a riff I came up with. And he's like, Reb, what's that? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just saying I'm messing with it. He said, that's a song. And I'm like, really? It's a song? He said, yeah, you need an arranger. I know the perfect guy. And I said, not Kip Winger, please God, not Kip Winger. And it was. It was Kip Winger. And they put us in a room together when we wrote Time to Surrender, Madeleine, and 17 in the first day. The
Wow.
first day. Just the basics of those songs. And he was my best friend from then on. I just thought I had met the greatest musical genius of my life. I just didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that's how it worked. He taught me everything I know about arranging and songwriting.
Wow. There's some great stuff as well. I mean, I was talking about the second album, which I think is probably one of my favorites, and the track "Can't Get Enough." I remember the first time I heard that. I clearly remember the first time I heard that. It's so different to anything else on the record.
Sorry, I've done 3 interviews before this. I'm losing my voice, but I just ripped off Judas Priest.
Mm.
There's a that riff is a Judas Priest thing, or that's what my head told me it was. Uh, it's like you can't be old to be wise. It's one of those. The verse is the exact riff, I think. And we needed a song. See, we delivered in the heart of the young without Easy Come, Easy Go and Can't Get Enough.
Oh wow.
So the record label said that they were going to release the record and have Miles Away as the first single because that's the only hit that they heard. And we told them if you do that, it's the kiss of death and we'll be a power ballad band. And we didn't want to be known as a power ballad band. We were really proud of the fact that we had our hits with up-tempo rock songs like Madeline and 17. So they said, great, write some up-tempo rock songs. And we wrote Kip. I went I went out to do something. Like I went to the store and I came back and Kip had written Easy Come, Easy Go, the whole song he wrote in a half an hour. Then we sat down to write a hit, groove song. He played the drum machine. I played my Judas Priest chords and we wrote it in a half an hour. So both those songs were written in a half an hour and they were the first 2 singles.
Crazy. Wonderful, wonderful days as well, back then.
That's a good, that song was a big song for strip dancers, strip
Yeah.
club dancers.
I can
Because it's got this
imagine.
sexy dun 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 dun. It's great for taking off your clothes if you're a girl, not if you're a guy, but if you're.
It's great stuff. And you've also been in Dokken, one of my favorite Dokken albums.
Thank you very much. I worked really, really hard on that. I knew how important it was to, replace George in that situation. And when I came in, they had a lot of really like Beatlesy songs because they're huge Beatle fans. And they were just going in this kind of, strummy Beatlesy direction. Then they had the song Erase the Slate, and it was just like, Erase the Slate. It was just like, no, you're talking. You need come on, give me that, give me that. I'm like, really? I'm like, yes, give me that. I'll make that riff. So I wrote that riff overnight, and that started it. Then they got it and like, okay, Reb's right. This needs to be just a balls to the wall rock guitar record. Um, and working with Don in the studio was really hard, but touring with Don was really fun, and we became friends on tour. In the studio, he was really hard to work with. He told me I'd never be George Lynch, and then when John Norum took my place, he told him he'd never be Red Beach, and because that's just his MO in the studio. But no, it's a great record. I don't like the drum sound on that record. Drumming's great, but it
Yeah.
was like too overprocessed. If you listen to that snare, it's just like, oh God, it's not. There's too much crap on it. But really love that record. Racist Slate, I'm very proud of it.
It was the last great album for Dokken, in my opinion.
Like,
They've done some good stuff here and there, but yeah, it's interesting though that everything around you seems to be sort of coming to a natural conclusion. So you've got Winger ending, you've got Whitesnake ending, but you can often do wonderful things like Black Swan. Robin, who I always get to talk to, is one of my favorite singers in rock. I
amazing.
absolutely love his voice. But what you guys
I
have
saw
done,
I saw him last week with Michael Schenker, and the guy
yeah,
sings his ass off. Incredible at his
yeah,
age too. Unbelievable, and
yeah,
he's so sweet and nice.
he has actually got better. I saw him many years ago with his first band supporting Iron Maiden on the Number of the Beast tour,
Mm.
and his voice is far better today than it was back then. It's
Kip Winger's voice
yeah,
is better in some ways, for sure. And
yeah,
you mature and you learn how to take care of it and the whole thing. And either that or you just you know don't know how to take care of it and you lose it.
yeah. It's sad,
But yeah,
isn't
yeah, his voice is great. But I mean, Black Swan, you know, that'd be rough. I'd love to tour with Black Swan. I'd love to, but nobody in America knows it.
it?
No one's going to pay money to Black Swan. We would have to start at the very, very lowest place. It just wouldn't be enough money for Jeff, who is still in Foreigner, raking in the dough. We'd all have to, be traveling in the van and staying at the Motel 6 for a couple years, like, no. He's like 70 years old. It's like, we're not doing that.
And that's a huge frustration for me when you hear music that's that good, that's as good as the stuff that you heard back in the day. It must be incredibly frustrating as a musician not to be able to take it out there.
It would be great live. It would be
Yeah,
very difficult. I mean, it's doable for sure. It would be a lot of me playing and singing. Like it's like Winger. It's riffs where you have to sing over them. Um, and there's a hell of a lot of changes. It's actually harder to play than it sounds. Kind of like 17 by Winger. It sounds like, it's just a stupid rock song, but try and play it. There's a lot of like stuff going on, up tempo stuff. Um, I'd love to do Black Swan live. I just don't see how it's feasible.
yeah.
Um, from a business standpoint. Maybe in Europe you could do some shows, but we need a lot of rehearsals. Who's going to pay for that? And the flights, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So it's too bad.
And and if you get offered a festival, you've got to get all that together as well. And it's the time, it's incredible. So you head to Japan before you come and see us. You must have some great memories of touring that country in various different bands.
Come on. I mean, I hate to say it, but Japan is the most fun to play. I mean,
Yeah,
Australia is great. Love Australia. Love the
Japan's
people
crazy.
there very much. But there's nothing like the Japanese audiences. The Japanese audience are so committed to having the live music experience that they don't drink a drop. Not one of them in the audience has had one thing to drink because they want to take in the show and they don't want to miss 1 second of it. So they don't want to get up to pee. And that would also be rude if you got up and walked out at any point of the show. So they all are there, standing in the same place and listening intently to anything that's said on the microphone or anything that's sung. Anytime any little thing happens, like you drop a pick or the chord pops out, they all talk to each other. Chord just popped out, they're so into it, and you feel like the Beatles when you're over there. There's people at the airport, fans are in the lobby and they line up in a perfect line. Like someone said, "All right, everyone, in a perfect line." No, they don't have to say that. They just do it because they're all so well mannered.
It's crazy experience. I absolutely love visiting Japan. It's a wonderful place to go, and
And the
now,
fans haven't aged. It's
yeah,
35 years later, they look exactly the same.
yeah,
Like they could be wearing like schoolgirl outfits. It's
yeah.
bizarre.
In Australia, you get a completely different experience when you come over here. Still as passionate, but
Australia's like if America had more beautiful places and nicer people. I think Australians are the nicest people I've ever met.
see, a lot of us think Americans, especially American musicians, are some of the nicest, politest people we've ever met because they're always so gracious when they come over. It's last time I spoke to George Lynch, he was over in Perth, and he described Western Australia as California without the people.
I haven't been there in so long. Like I said, I was there 30
Yeah.
years ago, so I'm sure it's much different now.
I've got a few questions that we're going to try and get on the radio this week for you, so to try and plug the dates and also get a few more people to buy some tickets over in the West here. Um, and this is an intriguing question. When did you know? Because you've been in music so long, you've done so much. When did you know that music was definitely going to be that thing that was going to overtake your life? Not just something you were good at and you loved, but
Nah, I mean,
when did it get serious?
did you already read this in another interview so you knew I was going to have the answer right away?
No, I always ask people
No.
this one.
Well, let me start by saying that when I was 4 years old, I heard a show on TV my parents were watching, and I went up to play it, and I played it on the piano perfectly. So my parents thought I was a child prodigy. Later, they discovered that I wasn't a child prodigy. I just had a great ear, like a God-given ear. Um, my father took me to an aptitude test just to see if I had any aptitudes in anything else that I could pursue because he really didn't want me to be a musician. And um, the guy said, "Mr. Beach, your son has absolutely no aptitudes in anything whatsoever other than music. He got a 99% in rhythm. He's got perfect pitch. He has to do music. There's nothing else he can do physically or emotionally. There's nothing else this guy can do." So he was very supportive after that. Um, I wanted to be a piano player. My mother was a stage mother and put me up on stage I had to be the lead role in every single, fifth grade play, third grade play, Oliver, Oliver, think about the sun, Pippin. And I was up there in my little outfit, wide eyed and freaking out. I was in every single show. And so I lost any stage fright that I might have had as a young boy because I did so much. And then my brother invited me to New York City. I went to school in upstate New York because my parents were having an affair. Each of them were having different affairs. So they sent the kids away to boarding school. And I went to boarding school in North Country School in Lake Placid, New York, which was an amazing school. But on the time off, I went to visit my brother, who was the director of the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. And he knew nothing about rock and roll, but he saw in the paper that a band called Kiss was playing at Madison Square Garden in 1977 and asked if I wanted to go. And I freaked out because I had only heard, some kid had the album and I'd listened to it and it freaked me out. So it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And the second that I saw Ace Frehley play, I knew that I was not going to be a piano player. I knew, and it was more than just knowing that's what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to be successful when I was 13 years old and I saw that show. I just knew I would be great at that. I knew I'd be, better than most at doing that because I already knew how to perform and I knew I could learn that guitar quickly. And I did. I learned in a year. I was playing better than anybody else. And it just came right to me. And it was a great time too because that year for Christmas, I got the four albums that came out that year,
Wow, yeah,
um, which was Boston,
yeah.
Kansas Left Overture, ELO, and Grand Illusion by Styx. Those are the four albums that I got for Christmas that year. So just boom, just exploded after that.
So we've got your brother and Kiss to blame, basically.
Yeah, yeah. My brother, if they hadn't been playing the one night that I was in New York City, I might have seen the Eagles and gone, more mellow.
Well, never. Have we got time for two quick ones for the radio?
Sure.
Yeah. The next one is, and I no idea what you're going to answer this one. If you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of any great album, just see how the magic happened. What would you love to have witnessed? I know it's boring in the studio, but what would you love to have seen being made?
Rats in the Cellar.
Yeah.
Freaking sorry, what's the album? Rocks
Yes.
by Aerosmith.
Right. Yeah.
Oh God.
The
Yeah,
first,
that record, um it's so much cool stuff is happening in that record. I listen to that record more than any other record. That was the one for me that kind of I started learning about production and all that. Although some idiot remixed it,
yeah,
so I got to hear what all my favorite parts really. He did it too loud. Like the guy was such a moron that Back in the Saddle, that song by Aerosmith.
yeah,
Well, if you listen closely, there's like a clip clop of horse hooves, like clip, clip clop, clip clop, clip clop. The guy like mixed that super loud, so it's like I'm back, clip clop, clip clop, clip clop. It's like you just ruined the entire song just with one fell swoop, just one move of your finger, completely ruined Back in the Saddle. I still want to kill that person or at least
yeah.
hurt him
I
somehow.
know, I know exactly what
And
you mean. I'm a huge Aerosmith fan, probably my favorite band of all time. There's
me
only
too.
there's only you, me, and Slash in the 15 years I've been doing this that picked that album.
Really? So
Yeah,
you picked the same album.
yeah. It's the greatest. That and I love Draw the Line. That's like perfect as well. Although they were falling a bit apart on that one.
They were, but I love Draw the Line. I mean, Get Your Wings for me is
Yeah,
unbelievable. There's no way that's Joe Perry. He was completely out of it by then. That's the guy from Alice Cooper who was next door in the studio who went in and played Train Kept a Rolling. I mean, that's his tone. It's totally that's not Joe Perry's tone. Joe Perry's great. I love Joe Perry, but he's Joe. You can tell when it's Joe Perry playing guitar. He's so Joe Perry, which that's what's cool about Joe Perry. But the most famous solos are either Brad Whitford or the other guy,
yeah.
or the guy from Alice Cooper. Yeah, Get Your Wings is really cool. Toys in the Attic. I mean, give me a break. Oh my God, it's just insane how much I love Aerosmith.
They're fantastic.
Really,
And we'll leave you with an easy one, Reb. What is the meaning of life?
boy, that could be the hardest question anyone's ever asked me, to tell you the truth. The meaning of life, I guess. What's the meaning of life? I have to think about it. The meaning of life. What does it mean? What does life mean? Or is that what it means? What
What's
does life mean?
yeah, what's it all about?
Well, it's
What's
all
it for
about
you?
making the best of it you can,
Yeah.
and that's why, I'm thinking I'm going to move to Italy. That's what I want to do. Because I only got 20 years left if I'm lucky, and I kind of like to get out of Pittsburgh, you
Yeah.
know. But the meaning of life, I've figured out in my 61 years that you just have to make the best of it because it's so short and you never know, you could get hit by a bus. I mean, I guess everyone says that, but you don't really know it until you've lived for 60 years and said, "Oh my God, now I've only got 20 years left." And I never had that time that I really wanted, to be relaxed. Because the older you get, it seems like the more crap is piled on to you. And everything's more expensive, and the taxes and there's just so much. It just gets worse and worse. When I was poor, I was so much happier. Not that I'm rich now, but I mean really poor. I was like on welfare. That's what the happiest I ever was. So, with all that responsibility, you you it's hard to have a good time and be relaxed. So I say just, screw everyone. It's think of you first when it comes to your life. Um, and you have to think of yourself. And the meaning of life is you got to make the best of it because who knows what's going to happen when you die. I like to think that I'll be, I'll just be a little baby and born again. Oh, a new life. I'm going to be a freaking beekeeper now in Canada.
That'd be great. That'd be a great job. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful. In the 15 years of interviewing people, I think it's been one of my favorites ever. So thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
and I can't wait to see you in a few weeks' time.
Good. Look me up. I hope to see you at the show in Perth. Sure, it'll be a small audience, so I can pick you right out and go like, come on back and we'll have a beer.
No worries, mate. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Okay, Mark. Thank
Safe
you.
trip. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.